Thank you for tuning into Pierce Politics. We're on with a very special guest today, Will Robinson, sophomore here at Franklin Pierce University, and also the founder of Ravens for Bernie, which was a very successful club on campus, organization, if you will, that was able to raise awareness for different political events on campus and around the community, and also was able to promote Bernie Sanders on campus and to other college students around the New Hampshire area. So, welcome, Will, to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So, Will, it's been a pretty exciting time for Bernie. Uh, a new poll to show that in Fox News poll to show that Kasich and Cruz would have a better chance of beating Hillary Clinton in the general election than um, would Hillary. So obviously Hillary Clinton would lose a general election against them. That could be a really moving point for the Republicans, as Cruz has made his whole campaign based on the fact that he can beat Hillary Clinton, and whoever the Republicans would vote for would be the person to beat Hillary Clinton. That would be the most successful way because Hillary Clinton is, as they would say, bad Democrat, have the D in front of the name. So, what do you think that means for Bernie Sanders? Big move. Maybe he can start saying, hey, enough's enough. Oh, we got to move from me.
Yeah, well, of course, with the poll showing that Cruz and Kasich are both beating Clinton in the general election, I mean, it's true that the way the numbers are looking right now on the Republican side, that Trump's going to be the nominee, and I don't know whether he'd be able to win. But I think that's a really strong argument for voting for Bernie because Bernie, like him or not, he definitely wins huge among independents. Like I think the most recent poll I saw him getting as much as 40%, and Democrats and Republicans don't win the general election. I mean, you can win the entire Republican vote or the entire Democratic vote. You're not going to win the election without the independents. So when choosing a nominee, it's I believe it's really important to choose a nominee that's able to win over the independent vote and win over and generate high voter turnout. We recently saw in Idaho and Utah where Bernie won 79 to 80% of the vote compared to Clinton. She almost got no delegates from
Huge,
those
you would
states.
say. As Donald Trump would say, huge.
Huge. That's one thing that Bernie and Trump have in common. Anyway, but those numbers show that Bernie has the ability to really generate high voter turnout, get people excited, and for the first time ever, a lot of independents are flocking to the Democratic Party to vote for a candidate that they truly believe in, and so
So you
that's
think
vital
that
for
Bernie
getting the
Sanders?
Republicans.
So you think if Cruz and Kasich are able to make the push to Republican voters that hey, we can't have Hillary Clinton win. We're the best alternative. Chris Christie said that Donald Trump was the best alternative, but how that turned out. Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders both beat Donald Trump by double-digit numbers. So, what's your thoughts? Do you think that Bernie Sanders would be able to have a good chance against Kasich and Cruz, not based on poll numbers, but based on policies and such?
Based on policy, I think he's coming at where the American people are at right now. I mean, his policies are greatly supported by a large number of the American people. I mean, you can see that by the people that have come out and supported him in Idaho, in Utah, in New Hampshire, all across this country. Millions of people have come out in support for him. I mean, just a year ago, he was at what 3%.
Yeah.
Now he's nationally. Now he's at like 45% or 40%. I can't remember what the most recent poll has, but he has him only down by like 5 to 7 points.
Yeah.
So that shows that as people learn about Bernie, they grow to really like him and respect him. Even if they don't necessarily agree with his policies, they still will vote for him because they see him as an honest leader with integrity who will always be fighting for them rather than the billionaire class and the big special money interests.
Now you talk about the excitement of Bernie Sanders, among Americans, from Utah, big numbers, Idaho, big numbers, Vermont, big numbers. But what's really striking is the excitement for younger students, younger people coming out to voting on campus and all around the world, all around the world, people getting excited about Bernie Sanders. So, what do you think that says about his policies and the way he's messaging,
Well,
campaign?
well, I think a lot of it has to do with part of it is his policies. Young people our age really like what he stands for. He stands for free college education, and he stands for helping us pay off our student loans, meaning that right now our young people are saddled with incredible crushing debt, but when you go to Europe, even for American students, it's free, tuition free.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, you may have to pay for
As my
somewhere to
sister
live.
always says.
Yeah. And healthcare. That's another issue which is big. Like, why does it make sense that um, not a lot of people know this, but my mom was recently diagnosed with cancer, and
Mm-hmm.
the amount of money that we've had to spend on top of my student loans, on top of with her cancer treatment, has been an, horrific.
Yeah.
Huge amounts.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's really rough, but it to me it's not just it doesn't just make sense economically. It's a moral issue in my mind and in a lot of Americans' minds. It's simply unethical to be forcing millions of Americans to go into bankruptcy for just because they got sick
Mm-hmm.
based on something they can't control. And all the numbers I've seen, a lot of people say, "Oh, we can't afford it. We can't afford it. It'll be super expensive." All the numbers I've seen and all the numbers that Bernie's seen show that it would actually be cheaper to go, because sure, your taxes may increase by a little bit each year,
Mm-hmm.
not significantly if you're not making over 250,000, but you'd be saving thousands and thousands of dollars on healthcare costs.
But what would you say to someone who, not
Of course, no.
to trample on your idea, but what would you say to someone who says, "I own my own small business. I don't have to pay for my employees to health insurance because I'm already paying for them because of my sons or my daughters or my nieces or my nephews or my et cetera, or I don't have enough employees, or I already have health insurance and my taxes will go up." What do you think? Um, what would you say to that? What would you say to those people?
Well, as I said, like there are some businesses where business people will be saving money because they don't have to pay for their employees' health care. But for those
Yeah.
that don't, it won't hurt them because they're not spending money now on their employees' health insurance, and
But the
their
taxes will increase.
but their taxes wouldn't increase any more than if they weren't a small business owner. So, and again, they would be saving the thousands of dollars on their own health insurance, because unless they're on Medicare currently, which isn't perfect, but unless they're on Medicare currently, they're going to be getting a better plan. They're going to be saving money because they're right now they're probably spending thousands and thousands of dollars every year on
But
health
can Bernie
insurance.
Sanders guarantee the people who already have the better plans will be able to keep those plans?
No, he's not going to pull an Obama and say
Mm-hmm.
something that turns out later be not true. Because under his system, there would be no better plans. There would only be the Medicare for all single payer program. We would be reducing the copays. There'd be no more of those. That we'd be reducing the per year what you're spending on healthcare, and that's one of the main reasons why why the National Nurses United, which is a big nursing union,
Mm-hmm.
they endorsed Bernie really early, mainly because of his plan for healthcare.
Yeah, obviously, under HIPAA laws and other laws, that created by health insurance in the United States of America, anyone who goes into a hospital has to be treated. So that's definitely a good thing to point out. The same thing with college. Again, Will, what do you say to someone who's saved money over the years, you know, put their kids through school, and then they don't want their taxes to increase to pay for the next generation of education? What is Bernie saying to those people?
Well, Bernie's actually really clear on how he's going to pay for the free tuition. He has proposed a small zero, I think it was a 0.5% tax on Wall Street speculation,
Mm-hmm.
which basically which has been endorsed. It's known as the Robin Hood tax because it
Yeah.
taxes those very wealthy and gives back to the rest of the community,
Mm-hmm.
allowing us college students to go to school debt free. And if it wouldn't be debt, well, wouldn't be all colleges. Like, unfortunately, here at Franklin Pierce, the tuition here wouldn't change because it's private. He's only talking about public colleges, but that tax has been endorsed by economists. And unless you're very, very wealthy and um, deal with trading on the stock market, Wall Street speculation, your taxes are not going to change.
Right. So there's gonna be no tax increase for any middle class or upper class people.
Unless you're involved with Wall Street
Yeah.
speculation, no.
You think that he's gonna be able to get that done though? It's tough for a Democrat right now to get a Supreme Court justice nominee. Unfortunately.
That is true. But he keeps talking about, when he says a political revolution,
Mm-hmm.
that's what he means. He doesn't just mean getting Bernie Sanders as president of the United States. He means taking back the Senate and electing progressive Democrats and progressive senators and House Reps to get that can work with him to get his ideas passed. It's about more than just him being president. And sure, it may not work. Sometimes we're idealistic, but
Okay.
I personally would rather support a candidate that is willing to do what needs to be done rather than simply giving up just because it's too hard to get done.
Well, if you see college campuses around the country with the involvement in politics this year, definitely say it's a revolution in that sense. Thank you for joining us, Will.
Thank you for having me.
We'll have you on soon. We're gonna take a quick break. We'll be on the show after with Peter Murray from Franklin Pierce.
That was a great workout today.
I know, I'm really happy with their progress.
I'm so glad we're living a healthier lifestyle.
I know, it's awesome. So you come to the party later tonight?
Yeah, obviously I'll be there.
Oh, word.
So,
Can't wait.
see you later.
See ya.
We're now joined on the show by Peter Murray, member of the track and field team here at Franklin Pierce, criminal justice major. And, there's been a lot of issues with the criminal justice system
Oh yeah,
in the debates and such. So we're glad to have you on, Peter.
glad to be here.
So, Pete, start off, there's been a lot of violence at rallies lately. If you see Donald Trump rallies, it's more like, instead of ideology debates, is more about fistfights. So, who is to blame in that whole situation?
I believe it's Trump himself. He has very hateful speech
Yeah.
towards many immigrants, like what he said about about the Mexican immigrants. He was very hateful, saying they're all criminals, even though he has zero facts to back that up.
Yeah. So you think it's really his speech? I mean, you cover a lot of this stuff in your criminal justice class about riots and stuff like that. So you think the speech more than just the reactions of the people to blame?
Well, obviously, people have like a right to choose what they do,
Yeah.
but I mean, when he incites violence like that, something's bound to happen.
Yeah. So one big issue in the election season so far has been about the criminal justice reform. Prisons in particular.
Yeah.
Some people call for the closing of Guantanamo Bay. Some people don't. Some people call for torture and waterboarding, and some people call for ending prison sentences for drug users, first time users, and stuff like that. So, to you, Pete, what do you think? What do you stand on the whole idea of reducing sentences for prison sentences, or do you believe in more torture, or what do you think is the best way to handle that situation?
To start off, I don't believe in torture.
Yeah.
I know Trump, within this week, he mentioned that
Yesterday, actually.
Was it yesterday?
Yeah.
He said
that we should bring back waterboarding and cutting off the heads.
Even worse. Yeah, he said
terrorists.
waterboarding, if not worse, towards terrorists. Which I understand where they are terrorists, but they are humans too. So everybody has human rights. When it comes to prison reform, especially with like the drug use, my thoughts are to have non-violent drug users be put into a rehab program after their first use, and then if they end up recommitting, then they will have a prison sentence.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe within the past 10 years, they reduced mandatory prison sentences for drug use from 20, 10, and 5 down to 10, 5, and 2, respectively.
Yeah.
So
But again, there's thoughts about should we eliminate all marijuana legalness to make it legal in the United States federally, or to call on states to not enforce marijuana laws as Bernie Sanders did in Vermont, in the city of Burlington. So, what's your thoughts on pretty much the war on marijuana, as one would say?
not much of a war to be had. When it comes to marijuana, I mean, personally, I think it should be a personal choice whether
Mm-hmm.
you use it or not. Personally, I would never use it. I haven't used it ever, but it's everybody's personal choice because it's not as dangerous of a drug necessarily. When it goes to things like heroin, crack,
Yeah.
cocaine, meth, where the ante's upped, that's where the crackdown needs to happen.
Yeah. So, do you think that we think the federal government should? Do you think they should legalize it? Do you think they should keep it illegal and let states, handle their business as Obama has done, or what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think it should be legalized and have a personal choice.
Yeah.
But I understand where Obama's at with letting states decide
Yeah.
on their own how they want to handle each thing. I know there's a couple states, I know many states have decriminalized it, if not all. And some states have just made it
About
recreational.
26 states decriminalized it
Okay.
since Obama's been in administration.
Yeah. And then there's a couple that it's recreational uses fine, like Colorado.
So you mentioned the war on. Now we got war on heroin. We got war on. These different drugs. What do you think the federal government should be doing in that? Do you think they should provide more aid to states, or states should handle it on their own?
There should definitely be more aid to states to handle this because it is a major issue. I know from my town personally, which is Tewksbury, Mass. There's been a couple heroin overdoses, and it needs to be handled accordingly. Like you can't just take everybody who uses heroin and toss them in a jail cell and let them sober up.
Yeah.
They need rehab. They need to be put through detox and be prepared to just life without heroin, basically.
Yeah. Even the campaign trail, I've heard Hillary Clinton say that she never even heard of people doing heroin until she came to Keene, New Hampshire, and she was shocked. She saw this little town and it was, heroin ridden. And of course, Donald Trump has used Keene in New Hampshire many times, saying that he loves New Hampshire and that this big problem with heroin. So it's definitely brought a lot of attention to
Oh yeah.
the political world and the entertainment world with Donald Trump, as one would say.
Yeah.
So, but the idea of prisons, doing certain things, having overloaded prisons, having prisons where, you know, people are basically making laws to criminate more people with, the private prisons of America and stuff like that. What's your thoughts on that? You think we should start, maybe restructuring it, or?
Well, I know the U.S. has the highest rate of imprisoned people in the world, which is a serious issue, and just the overpopulation needs to be handled. We need to find different ways to give sentencing, rather than toss them in a jail cell for 5 years. For people that first-time users, have them, go to rehab, like get back on track and see if they can handle a normal life. If not, then there is a need for imprisonment, but I mean, it shouldn't be a mandatory 20 years.
Yeah. You don't believe that necessarily in minimum sentencing. Federally, the United States tries to stay away from that, except in certain situations of, terrorism cases or things like that. Do you think we should still continue to have minimum sentencing, or?
To a point, for certain things.
Yeah.
For drug use, not as much. For serious assaults, rapes, murders, there should be a minimum sentencing.
Right. So another big issue in the campaign trail so far in the criminal justice world has been the idea of patrolling all people of Muslim um, descent and people who practice who are Muslim to be patrolled. As Ted Cruz just came out, we had to control all neighborhoods that have Muslim people in it. Your thoughts on that? You think that that's a good idea, especially with the police image right now?
I saw that this morning, and now that makes Trump and Cruz saying that we need to patrol all Muslim neighborhoods and control them. That's a huge generalization. There are radical Muslims that are committing these acts, like ISIS and Al Qaeda and terrorist groups like that. But there's also millions of people that follow, that religion and are of peaceful nature. They're not trying to murder Americans. It's just a very small percentage have that thought process.
Yeah, I mean, you can. I mean, obviously, with the whole idea that all officers are racist, with a lot of the anti-police movements going on, so that
Yeah.
I feel like that would be a terrible move for law enforcement and the federal government to start endorsing that idea.
Absolutely not. I
Um,
don't think anybody would be crazy enough to actually believe that.
but one thing that has been crazy, though, as you say, is the idea of people coming so far in being engaged in politics with this really the first time I've ever seen in my life. So especially with young people, college campus and things like that, you can't go to the bathroom or you can't go to throw a shot put without being asked about Bernie Sanders or Donald Trump or whatever. What do you make out of this whole situation?
I know personally, I just started getting more interested into politics in the past 2 years,
Yeah,
and I've seen like a lot of stances. Like many around this area have been towards Bernie, and a very positive stance on Bernie. Uh, Trump, from the college student standpoint, many uneducated voters, have been joking around saying Trump would be like a funny presidential candidate, and that's
Yeah.
what it is. It would be funny. It wouldn't be necessarily good for the nation.
yeah. So you think that is kind of like the whole Bernie Sanders with the revolution, the fact getting young people involved, on top of the fact that you have Donald Trump running an apprentice type style TV show,
Yeah.
presidential campaign. So, do you think that's good or bad? You've seen a lot of people your age that may not have been interested before becoming interested in questioning ideas. You think that's good for our nation, or you think it's bad because you're take a step back and okay, these people are only engaged because of Donald Trump.
I mean, it's good to have more participation in the political landscape, and I think once voters get more educated on the material, they'll understand that electing a reality TV star as a president would not exactly be the best.
Which has been the argument since day one. I remember 6, 7 months ago, people saying, "Oh no, let it die out." People were just doing this as a joke right now,
Yeah.
saying they're gonna vote for Trump. But now it's starting to come. He could be the nominee. He's the most likely nominee. So when do you think the line stops? For people to take it
Well,
serious?
if he gets nominated, I'm definitely betting money on the Democrats winning the
Really?
presidency.
Yeah. You don't think people take it that far? And say,
I can't picture Donald
No.
Trump as the United States president.
What would you say to someone who does though? Who says that they can picture Donald Trump stepping on the stage of the White House where the great presidents have stood and given an inauguration speech on imagine January 21st, 2017. What do you say to those people?
Why?
Yeah,
Basically it.
yeah. You just don't understand.
Personally, it doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe it's just I'm not as into the Donald Trump hype, but maybe some people actually believe in him.
But you said things about like hatred and stuff. Do you think that's actually sending a message to the people like people are actually taking Donald Trump seriously? He says all these racist, these hatred and vulgar things about people. Maybe we should take a step back and say, why is this way? Or do you think that people just independently?
I mean, well, by the looks of it, like he has a good following right now, as we can all see from the primaries. But I'm hoping that what does he have? Like, what is he pulling at? Like 23% or something like that.
Some states he's polling at 55, 60%. He has the highest chance of winning.
He has the highest chance of winning right
Yeah.
now. Yeah. I'm hoping that most Americans don't believe in his hateful speech towards immigrants. He's been very negative, calling them all criminals and saying Mexico sends their bad seeds over to America, and that's not necessarily true.
So you're hoping that people finally realize, or do you think that is that? I mean, the way I look at it is if we have this much people supporting Donald Trump and his hate rhetoric, that we have to take a step back and say, why is it this way? Why are people so dissatisfied with our government that they're willing to elect Donald J. Trump, the greatest entertainer in the world possibly, as president? So, very interesting to see.
Yeah, it should be pretty interesting.
Well, thank you for joining us today, Peter.
Glad to be here.
Thank you for tuning in to Creates Politics. See you next time.